Hey, good afternoon, Detroit. Thank you so much for tuning in to WJZZ Beauty in the D, hosted by yours truly, Miss Stephanie, where we discuss power, wealth, and style in this beautiful city of Detroit. First and foremost, I would like to thank our sponsors. Miss Giovanni McCall, also known as G, the short hair slayer, who is outside of Detroit in the city of Southfield at the Mark Roberts Salon. Our next sponsor is Mina Martinez, who handles all of my social media marketing. And last but not least, we have the London consulting firm that powers and sponsors the show. Thank you again, Detroit, for tuning in. We are live, and I can't wait to get started with my two very special guests here today. We have Kenneth Scott, the president of Greater Detroit Realtors Association, and we also have Mr. Herbert Strather in the building, who really needs no introduction, but he is a real estate mogul in this beautiful city of Detroit. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Thank you. It's
Well,
a
thank you
pleasure.
for allowing me to be on your show.
Absolutely.
Yes. Herb Strather, we're so happy to see you. You've kind of been MIA. You've been out of the city for a while. The city of Detroit is happy to have you back.
I am happy to be back to the city, the place where I was born in, honey, and the place that I'm going to leave in.
All right, all right.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Kenneth Scott, I thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure being with you, Stephanie.
Yeah, so you gentlemen share so much in common. You were the past president of DAR. You are the current president of GEDRA, also known as
Absolutely.
Greater Detroit
And
Realtors
past president of
Association.
DART.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, as well as past president of DAR. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slight you on that.
Not at all.
Yes. So it's safe to say that both of you guys are passionate about the real estate profession.
Absolutely.
No question about that.
Absolutely.
So, Kenneth, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
Been in the real estate business 26 years as of March 28th of this year.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, it's been a nice ride. We had the peaks and valleys, but we've stayed standing.
You stayed standing. And how about you, Mr. Strather? How long have you been in the real estate
Well,
profession?
before a kid was born. Actually, I came in early in my 20s, but I established Strather Associates in 1975.
Okay.
So that was almost 50 years ago. Now I was young. Remember, I was very, very young in my teens.
Well, you look
When I
great.
got
I
into
mean,
business.
wow. I wouldn't even known that. You look great.
Thank you.
You've been
Now
around.
everybody know how old I am. Now everybody know how old I am.
So, you guys are passionate about the city of Detroit.
Without a doubt.
Kenneth, I know that you weren't born in the city of Detroit, but you still share the same passion as many of us native Detroiters. What do you love so much about the city and has fueled you to add to it in the form of real estate?
Absolutely. It's been in the city about 43 years now. No, 53 years, excuse me. 53 years now.
You
Okay,
older than
people are
I
telling
thought.
their age.
Hey, I'm telling you the age
You older
because
than I thought.
you grow attached to the culture, the people. I don't think there's anyone in the city that is not receptive to getting to know people. I love the energy that we have. I don't think we always are taking advantage of the energy that we have and the positions that we have. But at the same time, when you come to Detroit, you have to realize that we're 80% of the population. Blacks are 80% of the population. But we don't utilize our power as much as we can. We don't use our economics as much as we can. And that's something that we really need to hone in on in order to make this city everything that it needs to be. But at the same time, the potential that I've seen just makes me excited about the future. I want to know that I am contributing to it. I'm not a person that's sitting on the sidelines waiting for it to happen, but contributing to it and actively engaged in the process.
That's a good energy to have. But and you, Mr. Strather, what are your thoughts on what he said as far as the culture here? The fact that it's 80% African American and the fact that maybe we're not utilizing all of our resources. Talk about that culture and then the lack of utilizing the resources.
You know, a long time ago we had Paradise Valley, we had Sunny Wilson, we had, Black Bottom, what we call it, and it was it. I mean, it was hot. There was money. The Barthwells had their own drugstore. We had wealth. We had
Well,
wealth in the city. And like every American city, they decided to run freeways through the black portion of every American city. And they split up Black Bottom, split us up. Um, and so we've been splintered since. Now, before the riots, there was the Jews probably had everything. 12th Street, it was just, we were just ran by the Jewish community. So once the riots came, the Jews said, wait a minute, I don't want to be involved in all this rioting and stuff. So they left. We stayed like unoccupied for a while until the Arabs came in. Now they own everything and we're just consumers. And it's disheartening. It's so disheartening, you know, especially for us to have children that we're raising in the city. Do we want our kids to be run? I was at the bank the other day, Bank of America, and these Arabs were in line and they had stacks of cash. I mean, just hundreds of thousands. I'm thinking, boy, and they were at the window. I said, look at all of this cash. This is on Michigan Avenue. I got out of my car and I said, man, all that money. And that's our money. I mean, they're the business people. They own 99% of the gas stations, 99% of the stores, and we're just the consumers. And one of the guys came out, he had his son, and he was talking to his son, kind of tapping his head, and the thought just hit me. Will that little kid there be running the businesses and managing my little kids? They can be managing my
legacy.
kids.
They're building
It's like-
legacy.
Absolutely.
They're building legacy,
so-
and we're not.
You're right. So what do you think, both of you, what could do to change the culture, right? And go from being consumer dominated, as you say, being consumers into legacy and wealth builders.
Okay.
With you, Ken, what do you think?
We have to be accountable to our neighborhoods. We
How
have
so?
we have to invest in our neighborhoods. We have to invest in ourselves, and we have a tendency, like you said, and like Herb stated, that we relinquish that and give it to someone else. When the power is in our hands to build up our neighborhoods, make sure that we have a good residential district, a good commercial retail district, and even more important, a good school district where we can educate our kids and make sure that they grow up like you're the perfect example. I mean, you are a excellent parent. I have watched you from the time that I've met you, and I applaud you for everything that you do because you've taken accountability. You've taken responsibility of the person that you're raising and making sure that they have all the tools that they need in order to become a contributing factor to our community.
In addition, she is quite the entrepreneur.
Absolutely,
A
without
business
a
lady.
doubt.
She runs the insurance.
We were talking
company,
about that
gives me
earlier.
top service, and this is very, very important. You know, Steph, the thing about it is that I do not want to die and have my city in this same situation. Can you
Absolutely.
imagine that? Can you just imagine that? Here, Martin Luther King said this. He said, if you haven't found something you'll die for, you're not fit to live. That's what Martin Luther King said. So to everybody that's listening, you know, I would say that you have to find something you're willing to die for, that's passionate enough, or because you're going to die anyway. And listen, if you don't find something you're willing to die for, then you're going to die for nothing. And so the thing about it is that none of us is getting out of this deal alive, and we know it. We're not getting out alive. Are you willing to take, first of all, train yourself? This is why Strather Academy, and I might throw this in, you know, we've just had a training session, and the next couple of Saturdays we're going to have them, on, you know, how you can empower yourself and buy real estate. Everybody in the world come here and eat our lunch, and we sit back and look at them, and they're smacking and looking at us.
Right.
And we're powerless. We are not controlling our own community. They're buying our real estate and renting it back to us. So I am saying to everybody to get educated, to get involved.
So let's talk about that. Like we're throwing these action words out, as my daughter said, we're throwing out these verbs,
Yeah.
right? But what is the doctrine behind it? Like, you know, what's the recipe? How do we get people? You know, let's talk about. So we're talking about real estate. Let's really talk about real estate. Let's talk about money out here, right?
Okay.
That people can make and still live in their communities. And I'm talking about this from a business owner
Okay.
who works out in Southwest Detroit,
Okay.
where the population is majority Hispanic, right?
Okay.
And they're buying up everything, and they're living the American dream.
Right.
So how can we get, how are they knowing about these deals? Are we just not knowing about these deals? Like, how can we're part of Greater Detroit Realtors Association, DAR. Let's talk about that, gentlemen. Let's
Right.
talk about that. Who wants to take that? How
Well,
can we get these deals out here in people's hands?
let me state this. We have the information. Black is popular. Black is being sought after at this point in time. For
How
those,
so?
in the sense that there are mortgage lenders out there that have products that are available for those individuals that are mortgage ready, have a credit score of 580 and above, have lived in the city for a year. They can access all those tools, and they have expanded underwriting guidelines in the sense that prior to, say, about 2020, yeah, they had guidelines of debt-to-income ratios of 45% or less. Now it's 50% or less.
Okay.
Now you have down payment assistance with the city of Detroit for 25,000, and it's coming back. So
And that
all
does work,
all the
people.
myths that people have heard that it's not back or it won't be back is coming back, and it's coming back strong, and it's coming back stackable to the point where financial institutions can bundle that with the city's program, and you can have upwards of $40,000 in down payment assistance to help you buy a home.
Now let's talk
So
about
you have
what
to
type of
position yourself
properties
to do
are we
that.
looking at? We obviously not talking about land. I mean, for our listeners who don't know, right? What type of properties are available to purchase? We're not talking land bank properties. What type of properties can people expect to purchase with this down payment assistance money?
Absolutely. You're looking for single family homes and duplexes, flats. You're looking for condos. Also, you can use a traditional mortgage, which is through the GSEs, which is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Federal Home Loan Bank. But also, each bank has their own portfolio product, meaning that it's exclusive to them in the sense that they've created a mortgage program that you can utilize in order to purchase a home. They have expanded underwriting guidelines from 45 to 50% of your debt to income. They have credit scores of 580 and above and what have you. The only thing you have to do is pay your bills on time for the last 12 to 24 months, and you're good to go.
You're
I can
good to go.
find a mortgage for you if you paid your bills 12 months to 24 months.
And that's not unreasonable.
Not at all.
So, Mr. Strather, you do a different type of financing, and I'm streaming live, guys, for the people who are
Not a problem.
on the YouTube. So, Mr. Strather, let's talk about you do a different type of finance, a different type of purchasing. What are you guys over there doing at Strather Academy to
Well,
contribute to?
Well, what we believe is fully financing everything. Listen, I have bought and sold $2 billion worth of real estate. And I think that's more than anybody in America, black. Now, maybe there are some people that have closed $1 billion, but I don't know personally anybody that did $1 billion.
A
And
billion?
I've done 2.2 billion.
2.2 billion.
And I haven't put up any money. Now, the reason I didn't put up any money is because I didn't have any money when I started. I bought my first 20 unit on Sussex and Finkel. I bought 190 units in on Myers and 6 Mile, and I was still in my early 20s. Here's what I say to everybody that's listening. Bring a burning desire. A burning desire. If you have a burning desire, you're going to make it. And if you don't have a burning desire, if you haven't overcome circumstances and challenges, you may not have enough juice to make it. Don't cry about the things that have happened to you. That you've overcome it, you've strengthened, you've learned from it. I say to you, if you got a burning desire, I want to give you my phone number. And I'd like you to join me next Saturday where I'm going to teach the next generation of urban developers how to make $1 million on a single deal. Now, my phone number that I want you to call is 313-444-9691. And I want the people that got a burning desire. And some of you parents, step aside. Bring me the young guns.
All right. And you know what? I think that's the answer to my question when I said about the culture is getting to the youth
Absolutely.
and sharing importance. So let's talk about
The
how
millennials outnumber the baby boomers now.
I didn't know that. You just educated me. on
Because
that.
we're
I didn't
dying
know
off.
that.
Okay.
So somebody's got to carry the baton. So let's talk about what you guys over there at GEJ are doing, Greater Detroit Realtors Association, to get in the community and help increase black home ownership. Black home ownership matters.
Absolutely. Our charge as the Greater Detroit Realtors Association, a local board of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, our primary charge is to increase black home ownership. There is a lack of housing stock out there now.
So it's low
And-
inventory.
Well, let me say it this way. My message directly to those that are investing, those that are flipping, those that have market homes on the market right now. If your home is on the market right now as a listing agent or a seller or an investor, please make it accessible to those individuals that want to purchase it. They can purchase it wholesale if they want to flip or whatever the case may be, but we need housing stock. And you're holding on to it. You're not developing it to the extent that you should. We want you to develop it because there's a demand right now
Yes.
for black home ownership. We want to go and get the homes that are on the market presently that have been sitting on the market anywhere from 50 to, I saw one that was on the market for 424 days.
Really? Why do you
Why-
think that is?
Better
You
reduce
need
the
to-
price a little bit, don't you think so?
Well, at the same time, you're dealing with two issues. You're dealing with an issue where the people are not going for loans right now or qualifying for loans. But at the same time, if you're staying on the market for 400 and some days, you're doing something wrong about
Clearly.
marketing that house.
Clearly.
I think so.
And you need to make that accessible. And keep in mind, there are renovation loans right now that will help someone buy that home in its as-is state and then rehab that home and still have equity at the end of that
Okay,
transaction.
so how can a person do that? What banks are offering that kind of finance?
There are three that I know of in the immediate area. They are Liberty Bank, which is a black-owned bank based in New Orleans. There is Flagstar Bank that's based in Troy. There's Prime Lending that has an office in Dearborn. I mean, these are entities that you can purchase the as-is property, go through the essentials of the property, the structure, the plumbing, the heating, the heat, ventilation, and air conditioning, and get those things done. And then you could customize it by creating or installing a new kitchen or a new bathroom or putting up a garage or cutting down a
So
tree
it's
or whatever
increasing the
case may be.
value as well.
Increases the value, and you have equity at the end of the transaction.
Wow.
Those homes are not being made accessible to the renovation loans, of which three entities have it. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA 203K.
Right. You know, Stephanie, we've created a special program that we call Home in a Box, $9.99 Home in a Box. And because of all of the programs and the free money out here and the possibility of the structured purchase agreements that we do, we're telling everyone that's listening, if you got $999, we'll put you in the house. That's your closing costs, your down payment, and your improvements.
Wow.
Now listen,
What
that's
kind of
your
credit score
down.
you need for that?
If you don't have your credit history rather than credit score, the question is, have you paid your rent the last 6 months? If you've done that, then you pretty much is going to be able to get in there. If you, like NACA, for example, there is no credit score required. There's no down payment. There's no closing costs. But you got prorations, and you could still end up spending $2,000 or $3,000 in just closing cost prorations. But the actual credit score is not necessarily. You don't have to have a credit score. If you've never had any credit, you got a low credit score. Is that fair? If you've never had any credit whatsoever, you got a low credit score. So they say, no, you should be penalized for that. Just long as you've paid your rent, you can get in. So we've created this program. It's for $9.99. And then we'll get you into the house, and that covers three things: your down payment, your closing costs, and the improvements. I'm talking about all of it.
Well, sign me up.
I mean,
So-
and then just for $100,000, for example, you're going to pay normally $7,000 or $8,000, right? 3.5% down, that's $3,500 plus closing costs. So if those who are interested, remember my number, 313, Saturday at 11 o'clock. Next Saturday, that's doing your show almost. But 11 o'clock next Saturday, join me. Just call and leave with me your name and your email, and I'll get a hold of you. 313-444-9600. 9691. And tomorrow in church, you make sure you announce this in your church so we can spread the word. Aren't we tired of people leveraging us? Let's buy our own real estate and take our own equity back.
Stephanie, let me expound on that as well.
And talk about the credit score of the three banks,
Okay.
Ken, that you just named that helps with those types of.
Basically, they're around 600, but I want to follow up on a point that Herb just made. There was a while ago, a few years ago, where banks weren't using alternative credit. And let me explain what alternative credit is. Alternative credit is when you can utilize your rent payment, your utility payment, your cable bills, insurance, your cell phone bill, and use that as a means to say, listen, I paid my bills on time. This is the extent of it. This is the history that I've established and what have you. And this contributes to your viability as it relates to being approved for a mortgage. That's another unique way of accessing a mortgage loan.
Okay.
Okay.
So, thank you for sharing that information for $999. I hope that
$9.99.
$9.99 that can really change somebody's life. Both of you. So you're the president of GEDRA, Greater Detroit
Absolutely.
Realtors Association, and you're also a member, Mr. Strather. Let's talk about the history, because a lot of people, when I talk about GEDRA, they don't know what we do, who we are. Can you talk about the history of the organization, so, Mr. President?
Yes, starting in 1947, 12 individuals got together in Tampa and chartered an organization called the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We are different from NAR. This was an organization that was developed in conjunction with Booker T. Washington with the National Business League, which was convening a number of black individuals because we were deprived of the opportunity to not only sell, buy, rent, own, whatever the case may be. And 4 out of the 12 were part of the community we call Detroit. The first president was from Detroit. And they made sure that we had the opportunity to do all those things: own, rent, sell, lease, whatever the case may be, to sell real estate.
So what does GEDRA do now?
We've also been instrumental in a number of legislation:
Oh, yeah.
Fair Housing, FREA Act, the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, the Community Reinvestment Act, Fair Housing. I mean, we have been an advocate for all of the legislation. We actually were contributing factors to HUD being established. So our advocacy in our community is strong. We at GEDRA are trying to get more engaged in our community because of the charge that we have to increase black home ownership. We need to touch all 7 districts of the city of Detroit. Make sure that they are aware that fear is not an option. Come to us. Let us get educated. Let us help you buy a home. Let us contribute to your black wealth. And that's something that we are staunch advocates for. And if you all would come to our home buying seminars, when we start having them somewhere around March and what have you, I want you to come with an open mind. Don't listen to Pookie and Ray Ray. Don't listen to the parents that have always been generational renters, but at the same time deterred you from becoming a homeowner. Because, like I said, there's more millennials than there are baby boomers now.
So let's
If
talk
you
about
have the
membership,
income, let's
too.
do it.
We do want to reach more home buyers, but also the organization wants to increase membership and
Absolutely.
reach out to more
Absolutely.
professionals. So let's talk
And-
towards
and
your
let me
real
say
estate
this.
professionals.
Let
as
me
well.
say this. We call ourselves the premier network
Premier.
of real estate professionals, black real estate professionals. Detroit is one of the most largest black communities in the United States.
Amen.
We have the largest concentration of agents and brokers in our midst within the Tri-County area.
Okay.
We don't have as much membership because they're not aware of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers or our local affiliate, Greater Detroit Realtors Association. But at the same time, we're on the front line. Okay, all those that are on the front line don't get the message until you touch them, and our goal is to touch them,
So, what
make
type of
sure that they're aware.
professionals are a part of the board? Talk about that in case
Absolutely.
there's someone contemplating. I mean, is it just realtors? Is it just,
Okay.
is it just mortgage bank? What's on the board?
All right. First and foremost, let me dispel this. A realtor is a member of the National Association of Realtors. NAR in the Realtors is a member of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, meaning that we're a black organization that advocates for our community. Now, you can be a member, you can be a NAR member or a realtor as a part of our organization, but you also brokers that are members of our organization. But at the same time, you have mortgage lenders. You have home inspectors, you have HUD consultants, you have appraisers, you have title companies, you have insurance companies. You
Just for the
have
record, I am a proud realtor.
absolutely,
Proud
absolutely.
realtors and insurance agent.
Not only that, you have general contractors, you have developers, builders, you have investors. We don't close the door to anyone that is contributing to the real estate landscape.
Amen.
Okay, if you're a member of, if you're doing anything in the community as it relates to real estate, you need to become a member of the Greater Detroit Realtors Association. You need to be an integral part of that because what you're doing is contributing to the real estate landscape of the city of Detroit and the surrounding communities.
Amen.
And that is really, really key. So we can stop people from coming here. Detroit is still the number one place to buy real estate in the world because our cap rates are 9 and 10. Atlanta, everywhere else you go, the cap rates are 6 and 7. Now, if a cap rate is that's the rate of return you want is 9, and you could borrow at 7, then you can obviously borrow 100% of the money if you structure it correctly. So that's why everybody comes to Detroit because they say the people in Detroit don't know what they're doing. They won't even buy their own real estate, and they got the most valuable real estate in the world. And look at our houses, our prices on our housing per square feet is like the lowest in the United States. And the embarrassing part of it, we're the biggest concentration of black people in the United States. And we are a mega for real estate. Look, DAR, the NAR, National Association of Realtors, was started by the Detroit Association of Realtors.
Really?
And the first two
I
presidents,
was cognizant of
the
it.
first two presidents were from DAR. Now they didn't let no black people in DAR back then. But right now, DAR is predominantly black, 99 and 3/4.
So talk about Dar because you were just the immediate past president.
Right now, I'm with both. I'm with Dar and Jeedra because I want to say to all of the black, to the urban real estate professionals, let's come together and let me show you. Let us teach you. I would like to share all of my knowledge, Stephanie. I mean, it's a hell of a thing. A little kid like me, Herbert from Herbert Street, closed $2 billion. I can't even believe it. I've got to share my knowledge with the next generation, with the kids. So we said, come together. Let us learn together. I'm teaching at Jeedra free. And we're going to start a podcast. I just like you to call if you want to be hooked up. Remember, 313-444-9691. I'm with Ken. He's my president at Jeedra. And I want to go to Jeedra. I was holding class on Tuesday. So next 2 weeks from now, we're not going to even have class on Tuesday anymore so that I can have my Tuesdays available for Jeedra.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
Excellent,
Strather. We
excellent.
appreciate that. We really appreciate the dedication.
And Stephanie, let me touch on that. I was president of the Detroit Association of Realtors in 2004.
Okay.
I came up with a
You're
lot
not
of.
old, aren't you?
Actually, I was the youngest president at that time, and I believe I still am. Actually, as the youngest president. But at the same time, Detroit Association of Realtors has a rich history. We became officers of the Detroit Association of Realtors around the 1990s. Then we had a succession of African American presidents. I'm also a secondary member of the Detroit Association of Realtors as well.
Yeah.
So I've followed them a long time from my presidency, before my presidency when I was public relations chairman, to the time I became president in 2004, and now under the presidency of the individuals that are a part of it now, we have a goal to be together, to work collectively in order to increase black home ownership. This is not a one-off or a two-off or whatever the case may be. Not only does the real estate community have a need to do that, but our community needs to be engaged. And one of the things that we want to do is make sure that they're engaged this year in 2024 and beyond, because if you are attaining home ownership, you are attaining black wealth.
Amen.
Okay. The other thing is we're starting a campaign called Building Black Wealth Tour around the nation. The National Association of Real Estate Brokers is stopping in Detroit in April.
Really?
It's stopping in Detroit in April.
And I'll be preaching.
What we're doing, what we're doing is getting in contact with the churches,
Okay.
the communities, the schools, and making sure that they're aware of it. Because the schools play a very integral part in the sense that the schools are, the parents are sending their kids to those schools, but they're still generational renters, and they're not buying homes around that school. So that community around that school is not being stabilized by home ownership. Want to make sure that when we were growing up, we were sending kids to elementary, junior high, or middle school and high school. These kids nowadays are going to 5 schools before they get to high school.
Really?
So
Because
they're
of
not
the
as
moving around.
Exactly. There's a lot
No
of
stability.
transitional moving.
So
we want them to invest in the neighborhood of which they're sending their child to school.
and become taxpayers.
Exactly.
I have a comment that I want to make on that, and I'm very passionate about it. The youth are our future. So I've made out my goals over the last 30 days about what is it that I want to do before I leave this earth. And one of the things that is very important to me is that we do STEAM centers in Detroit, 4 of them. I would like 4 STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And it's edutainment, we say.
Edutainment.
Edutainment.
Okay.
Now, because the kids are very, very smart. Now, like I was smart. I had a C minus average, but I was smart. But you couldn't realize the potential. Now, if you wanna figure out how a kid is smart, I tell you what you do. You go to one of these little bad kids that you gave a C minus to teachers, and you tell them to take out their phone and your phone, and you play them a game. They're going to beat you. They are going to beat you, and you're going to see to it. And parents, you think you're kidding you, they're going to beat you. So can we take and engage them in things that have them building robots and have them doing
love
drones
it.
and
I
have
love
them
it.
doing coding?
Yes.
We could fool them. Edutainment is kind of tricking them and educating them at the same time. So I plan to put it on the ballot.
Okay.
And listen, everybody, I want you to support this. You got to get behind something. We got to build 4 STEAM centers in Detroit. Look, it's one thing that I know that I would die for. If God asked me, he said, we'll do it, but you got to die, then I'll die. Just put the centers up. I'm not trying to be funny, because I'm going to die for something. But there's one thing more than anything I would die for is my kids. Because as a little kid, when I was coming up, I said, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to help little kids like me escape. And I escaped.
All right.
And I'm obligated, and I want everybody listening to find something that you're willing to die for, not just your kids.
Amen. Amen. You are preaching today, Mr. Strather. You've been away for a while. I'm so happy to have you back. I just love that fire and passion behind you.
Absolutely.
Now, so I'm glad that he is dedicating to help our team over at
Absolutely.
Deidre. That's amazing. You heard it
Absolutely.
here first. So why should a real estate professional want to join Deidre? What will they get out of being a member of Greater Detroit Realtors Association?
First and foremost.
There's a lot of pretty ladies in there. That's one thing.
Other than that, there's a synergy, a energy that, and a compassion for our community. To be advocates for our community, to strengthen our community as well as strengthen our wealth. There's a means to develop relationships with individuals that can help add to the value of your professional development, what have you. make sure that you in tune with the community and you become more profitable as a result of you being in tune with your community. That's the key. That's the key. I mean, let's reach out to places where we've never been before, where we've never explored the opportunity, where we've never taught before, where we've never met the people where they were. Now we can reach the people where they are and make sure that we make a difference in their community by giving them the means to attain home ownership.
I love that. But still, as a professional, let's say someone who is you know barely familiar or faintly familiar with NARAB altogether. You know, why would I want to pay a membership? Let's talk about that. What does being a membership really entail? You know, do I pay a membership and I just become an automatic member and start attending events, or do I get something out of it? Do you guys network over there? What type of
Absolutely.
activities coming up? And then talk about some of your affiliations too, like Women's Council. What's going on
Uh-oh,
over there?
uh-oh.
Absolutely. That's a whole lot, Steph.
I was
That's a
doing that.
whole lot.
All
We
right,
do
but hold
a
on for a
whole
second.
lot,
Hold on for
though.
a
We
second.
do a
Yeah,
whole
absolutely.
lot.
But let me
We have
state this.
sponsors and
Let me state
everything.
this
We
and
do a
what
lot.
have you. It's not just a one-off. We have memberships in various categories, like I stated before. We have different membership fees. A broker is 201, member is 146. Anyone outside of the real estate professional is 176. What you're getting is a constant camaraderie of meetings that are going on a monthly basis that bring you into the fold, as well as when we start doing the home buying seminars, we want you to profit from that as well, because you'll be in the house when we do those forums, and you'll have access to buyers that you didn't have on your own.
And you could also, can you, as a member, invite potential buyers to come?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because we have a NID, NARAB Investment Division,
Mm-hmm.
HUD Certified Housing Counseling class that we
Right.
do every second Tuesday, second Saturday, excuse me, of the month and what have you, where you can come in, understand the process from budgeting, credit, mortgages, down payment assistance, shopping for a home, making an offer, closing on a home. We want to make sure that we're touching you in every aspect of the process and what have you, and you're learning it from an objective source, but an educated source.
Okay.
Okay.
So when is the next meeting? How can people sign up and become members?
Absolutely. You go on greaterdetroitrealtors.com. There you can become a member. Make sure that you put your member classification on there, whether you're a real estate agent, a real estate broker, whether you're a person outside of the real estate profession, such as a mortgage lender, a housing inspector, a HUD certified housing counselor, an insurance person, a title company, contractor, builder, developer, whatever the case may be, investor, a plumber, a person that cuts grass, a person that does alarms and what have you.
Good.
Make sure that you're a part of our organization so we can reciprocate services, so we can go back and forth and everything. I want to see you at the closing table across from me, but at the same time, I want you to be a contributing factor as it relates to the building of that home and structuring that home so it's advantageous for someone to buy it.
Give them that website again now.
That
Yes.
website is Greater Detroit Realtist, REALTIST. That's who we are. That's how we differentiate ourselves from realtors. We are realtists.
One more time.
We
Give us
are
that
black.
definition of the realtors. One more
Okay.
time.
But
Realtist is a member of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. You can find out more information at narab.com or NAREB.com. We are doing some marvelous things in our community. We have the initiative called Building Black Wealth Tour that is happening across the country in 100 cities where you can take part in this. And realtors and brokers and all of the other individuals that I touched on, we need you this year more so than ever before because we're doing some marvelous things in our community. Our goal is to increase black home ownership, and nothing else would matter.
So you guys have a conference coming. Well, we have a conference
We
coming.
have a midwinter
Talk about,
conference.
talk about the conference and what could potential GDRA slash NARAT members get out of attending the conference. What does it consist of?
The conference is consisting of, how can I say, most black, energetic conference that you'll ever attend in life. I attended for the first time in 23 in Tampa. People were suggesting that I attend. When I got there, it was nothing like it. It was a number of like-minded real estate professionals and other
Absolutely.
entities that were contributing across the country
Across the
to
country.
black excellence.
That's great.
What was
Black
your take on
excellence in
it,
the real estate industry.
Mr. Strather, on the conference? What was your take on it?
Just synergy,
Yes.
synergetic.
Yes.
And everybody just positive and upbeat. I didn't get any negativism. I mean, the conferences I've been to, I mean, I just love them. I love the people, you know, the great looking guys, but the women are fabulous and the intellect. I mean, I'm just telling you,
Okay, got
the
you.
intellect, and Stephanie knows this here, you know, the intellect there and the educators. And like you said, we're home. You know, this is, you know, it's just a great, 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 great feeling. You
It is
know,
the definition of black excellence. I'll be
Absolutely.
honest with you.
it's the definition of black excellence, and it is a premier organization with
Premier.
dedicated people.
Absolutely.
And those of you who are in businesses anywhere related, you would be a fool not to join. Just think about it. I mean, if you are a contractor, if you are related in the industry, don't you want to be around this power?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me also state this, Stephanie. It was one of the few occasions that I had an opportunity to reach out to HUD,
Yeah.
have a conversation with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Federal Home Loan Bank,
All of them.
and all the financial
Under one
institutions that made them available under one roof.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a lunch with them, sit down and talk about various things that are going on in our respective market, and give suggestions as to how it could be better or taken more advantage of if we were to do this as opposed to this. It was a suggestion box of just nothing but activity and, like Herb said, synergy that we could actually make a difference in our respective communities
Right.
as opposed to sitting on the sidelines and waiting for something to happen.
It's a great networking opportunities to say the
And I
least.
was telling Ken that in March, the last Thursday in March of each month, we're going to start Lunch and Learn through Ginger. And you know what? It's just going to, for an hour, you're going to buy your own lunch because it could be on Zoom. But we're going to take one subject at a time.
Okay.
And we're going to go through it all and going to educate you. And just come a part of Gidra and you'll get educated. And the education you're
Get
going to get,
engaged.
I promise you that you're not going to be able to get it anywhere else.
What type of education will it be? Because we're talking about experienced individuals who've been in the game for
Well, here, no, let me
years
give
and years and
you
years. What we gonna get?
an example about
Okay, let me see.
what is unique about Detroit that others is not in other cities. We have the greatest buoyancy in America. When I say buoyancy, the greatest fluctuation in values. Like, for example, there's a property we have in 2340 Calvert, one of my students took on. And this right next to the Duffy Center, Calvert and LaSalle. Now, look, we had 6 appraisals on those properties, Stephanie. The last 2 appraisals was 150 and then 400. Just think about that.
400,000?
Huh?
400,000?
Yeah, 150,000 and 400. Now, we took the one for 400 in closing, got a $300,000 mortgage. And the appraiser that did the 150, he was out of Dearborn. I told him, don't ever come back into the city. I was really mad. I probably shouldn't have left him such a tough message. But we have great buoyancy in the marketplace. How would you leverage such buoyancy? What I would encourage everyone to do is to take and establish the highest price you possibly can when you buy real estate to stabilize our values. That excess over and above could go into improving the house. Now, that don't mean you're going to give the seller more money. Now, let me tell you one other thing, too. If you take out money properly, you take your 10 grand out and buy a house, you could buy a house and take $10,000 out and put it in your pocket. And the 10 grand you take out is not taxable because you don't pay taxes on borrowed money. Now, I can guarantee you, ain't nobody in America teaching you this because they don't have the circumstances. They don't have great buoyancy. How do you get wealthy in a great buoyancy market? This is what we want to show you how to do, and you can do it. We'll hold your hand and show you how to do it. Like, for example, we may have 5 subjects. One of the subjects we're going to start off is, listen, you got an apartment building you want to buy? You don't have the money down? I'll tell you what you do. Go join the LLC and go to the bank as a borrower, as an owner, not a buyer. Put
So
a mortgage
Deidre is
on it
gonna
and
be
cash the
offering
guy out, just like that.
Deidre is going to be offering these types of lunch and
Yes.
learns
Absolutely. But
now.
let me
Is
also
there?
state this,
Okay.
Stephanie. In the When the city of Detroit developed the Detroit DPA, they developed it on March 30th of last year. The first entity that got the word out was the Greater Detroit Realtors Association.
Yep, sure did.
We held a forum at Mary
Mary
Grove
Grove.
College on April 13th, and then we followed it up with a community wealth building day on April 15th, which is that Saturday. So 2 out of those 3 days, we had 150 people the first day that wanted to find out how they could access that $25,000 grant,
That's true.
what they needed to do, what the criteria was, and what have you. Then, for those individuals that weren't in the position to learn and develop their credit and develop their budgeting and what have you and prepare for home ownership, we held that class on the 15th, which 100 people showed up. Now, the following month, we had 350, we had a 700 people register. 350 people came to WC3 Northwest Campus to get educated on that down payment assistance program. We were the ones that kicked it off. Nobody else kicked it off. We kicked it off.
Good example.
And they showed up in droves and what
They
have you.
did. I
Okay?
showed up as a realtist and a participant to let people know that the DPA program is real. I am a proud recipient of that as well. But
Absolutely.
listen, gentlemen, we have about 2.5 minutes left.
Okay.
We were talking about, people who want to join,
Yes.
why they should join. Why don't you please let people know how they can see us in person
Yes.
and come and fellowship with us and see what do we really bring to the table.
Absolutely. We will provide a number of workshops, a number of networking sessions throughout 2024. Look at our calendar. It will be placed on Greater Detroit Realtors, GreaterDetroitRealtors.com, our website, as well as our friends who like Greater Detroit Realtors Association on Facebook. We will be getting involved in a number of social media, as well as doing some campaigning for the home buyer, the potential home buyer, throughout the year of 2024, where you can get engaged and you can find a home. Don't be fearful of the process. Please do not be fearful of the process. That's why we're here, to make sure that you're guided through the process professionally.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
at the same time, we want to appeal to those real estate brokers, agents. I don't care if you with EXP. I don't care if you with Century 21. I don't care if you with Keller Williams, whatever the case may be. Come out of the suburbs. Come to us. Let us work together. Let us work in tandem together in order to make a difference in our community. Because if we have the education and we have the tools, then more people can become homeowners.
Absolutely.
Out of
But
the
thank you, Ken.
Yeah,
So
okay.
much for we got 1 minute.
Not a
Thank you so
problem.
much for being here. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Strather, for being
Thank you
here.
for the
And I want
opportunity.
to thank you both, Black men. It's Black History Month. I want to celebrate you, Black men, who are a part of our current history right now, especially as it pertains to real estate in this beautiful city of Detroit. We got about 30 seconds. You want
I
to
don't
say
want those
anything
30
before we
seconds.
check out of here?
The 30 seconds.
We got 30
Let me
seconds.
say real quick.
You did all the talking.
We stand on the shoulders of all those individuals that have led us here.
All right.
Let us celebrate them.
Absolutely.
Let us honor them.
And thank you, Mr. Strather, for all of your contributions. So many, including the casino.
Stephanie, I would like to thank you. And just, you're
Absolutely.
my real estate agent. And I want to tell everybody that Stephanie is a top agent. She gives me competitive pricing. I have never in my life had service like this. Stephanie, will you give me your phone number?
Absolutely. 313-895-7070.
Detroit, you gave me joy. You gave me joy. Detroit, you gave me joy. I remember the feeling you made me feel. Those hot summer days swimming in the